a beautiful cemetery. Let's check it out. Okay, so I wasn't anticipating doing this, but I'm going to take a shot at this. Normally I try to prepare and do a lot of research, but just walking around Graceland Cemetery today, I mean, what a beautiful marker. Obviously this guy loved to read. I read the inscription. It's a little difficult to read on camera. It says, "Here lies one whose name is writ in water." A quote by Keats. And as you can see, he's got Dante and Homer and Virgil, Milton, and of course you got your Shakespeare right there. Beautiful detail on this little miniature built-in statue of this man. And who is this gentleman? It's Matt Rizzo Scorto. Born August 13th, 1913, passed away August 23rd, 1987. Is there anything on the back? No, nothing on the back of the marker. But sometimes stories really surprise you. I'm just going to tell you just a little bit about this guy's life. What an unusual life. Matt Rizzo was christened Mariano. He was born in Chicago in 1913. And at the age of 18, he and two of his friends held up a store. The shop owner fired. Buckshot hit Matt Rizzo's face, and he wound up in prison, blind. That's a heck of a way to go into prison. At the Statesville Penitentiary in Joliet, Rizzo met Nathan Leopold, who in 1924 with his friend Richard Loeb had murdered a 14-year-old boy in what was renowned as the crime of the century. In his autobiography, Leopold recounts meeting this Italian kid, Matt, who had recently been locked up and blinded and had no one around to help him. The brilliant, cold-blooded killer learned Braille and taught it to Matt. After 4 years in prison, when he was released back into the world, Rizzo couldn't see, but he could read, and he started selling insurance. He got married, had a child. Soon afterwards, his wife took their baby and left for California. She died 11 years later, and Matt moved his son Charlie home to live with him in his one-bedroom Chicago apartment. The father and son had to share only one bed, but it was not really that big of a deal because Matt Rizzo hardly slept. He spent most nights in the living room with coffee and Lucky Strike cigarettes. Charlie would wake up from time to time and hear his father reading and writing, the whisper of fingers across Braille, the tap, tap, tap of the Braille typewriter. Matt Rizzo, the blind ex-con 8th grade dropout, read Homer, Shakespeare, Kant, Hegel, Whitman, Emerson, Dante. Leopold, now we're back in prison, the killer, Leopold, had taught him where to find Braille books. And when the great works arrived from libraries in London and New York, young Charlie carted them home from the post office. Each book was as big as a chair seat. As he read, Matt Rizzo wrote, trying to synthesize the world's greatest thoughts as they penetrated his fingertips there in his little Chicago apartment. After the Braille typings were transcribed, the son proofread aloud and in the process got to know his father, the man that he now calls the love of his life. But it wasn't easy for a teenage boy to have that kind of father. You know how children are embarrassed by who they're with. Charlie Rizzo says, "I was embarrassed of my father. He was blind. He had a dog, but that didn't deter my father." Fortified by his father's unrelenting affection, the son learned to walk proudly through Chicago with his dad on his arm. Not that it kept him from his own teenage troublemaking. At 18, Charlie was arrested for burglary. Weeping, his father told him for the very first time how he wound up in prison and how he was blinded. "It cured me from doing anything wrong again in my life," Charlie Rizzo says. When Charlie grew up, he opened a popular Chicago clothing shop, City Slicker. Then started his successful decorating arts business, Skyline Design. He married, divorced, and after his father had a heart attack, Charlie moved back in with his dad. for 4 years when he was between marriages. His dad didn't really need him. Charlie just liked being there. In the 2-flat his dad had built and surrounded with a garden filled with flowers so fragrant you could almost see them. When Matt Rizzo died, he left behind reams of writing. When he was dying, his son promised to try to get them published. Even though Charlie Rizzo's relationship with his father is unique, it's also like millions of others. The fathers who embarrass you, the fathers who you deny in life you would have wished for. The father turns out to be amazing after all. Anyway, like I said, this is pretty loose. You know, I didn't really prepare for this. I wasn't planning on doing this here. And I just want to say, what I've been reading from is a 2002 article from a very nice writer named Mary Schmitch, S-C-H-M-I-C-H. What an interesting story. And I've probably rambled on a little bit too long, but hopefully you got something from this. I know I did.
Something old, something new, something for me, something for you. It's a big, big world. Let's check it out.